Welcome back to Proxy, everybody, and today we're going to be talking about some big news in the Eldar community, and that is the release of the Striking Scorpion kill team that was announced by GW this last Saturday. Now, I have to say, I'm really excited that they did this release. It was a long time coming, something that was teased many moons ago. But the fact that it's finally out and that we can finally see the models that are going to be the new Striking Scorpions is a really cool thing. And it's a big deal in the Eldar community because we don't often get new models. In fact, a lot of our models are from 2006 and some prior to that. So Warp Spiders are even older than that, if you can believe it. So it's been quite a few years since we've seen a range update, and it would be cool to finally see some new figures being printed out for the Eldar. As for the scouts in the kill team, I could probably care less about them. I just have to be frank with you guys. I really don't care about them, and I probably won't be covering them in today's video. So if you're a Marine player looking to get some extra coverage on your new kill team that you're going to get for the scouts, the scout side of it, you're going to be sorely disappointed because this video is going to be focused on and only on the Striking Scorpions. However, there is a bit of something of a controversy with these new Striking Scorpion models that a lot of people are talking about, and Eldar players are a little bit mixed on. Now, I want to say this right off the bat. I do like the new sculpts. I think they're cool, but I can see people's point with them. And what we're going to be analyzing in this video is if they have a valid point that these Striking Scorpions are not as good as they could have been. And overall, a little bit bland, and an opportunity that GW missed when they made the new Eldar Striking Scorpions. So without further ado, let us go ahead and jump right into it. But first, a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at in today's video. We're going to be getting a look at and talking about the new models. We're going to be talking about how the new models compare to other recent Eldar kits. And lastly, we're going to address the elephant in the room that everybody has been talking about, and that is, are the new Eldar Striking Scorpions actually good enough to want to buy? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the models. So we're just going to be taking these, basically a look two at a time to look at them. Now, the first thing you notice about these models is they look much crisper than the older iterations of Striking Scorpions. So the ones that were made in 2006, while they are good models, lack the crispness that these ones do, of course. And these are plastic kits, and they are, a modern kit. So that's something we should expect GW to achieve with their new kits. And the other thing you notice is that they are much more slender. So the older Striking Scorpions are kind of thick. They're kind of like thick boys, Their helmets are a little bit wider and stuff like that. And these models are more slender. Their helmets are more slender, more elf-like, so to speak, and so forth. What you also notice about these models is that most of them are standing on rocks. So this is kind of an old trope in hobbying and modeling in general, is that there's a lot of models that seem to be randomly standing on rocks as if to, kind of create this epic appearance, like they're standing over something, or being heroic or something like that, like in the old paintings. But, it's one of those things that I'm becoming more and more irritated by, especially when they're just basic rocks like this, and there's nothing really outstanding about them. There's no extra significance to the rock or anything like that. It's just a little bit of a rock on there. So, that is kind of annoying, to me at least. And then, you see that basically continued in other models. So you see two other models with, standing on rocks essentially. Now, one of the Striking Scorpions actually is standing on a ruined rock, which is a little bit different, some Eldar kind of, glyphics there. So that's kind of cool. I think the Eldar glyphs are really neat. And, kind of Eldar architecture in general is kind of cool, especially when Eldar models are standing on that, which I find really cool. And I think it gives the model a unique look when they're standing on a piece of their faction heritage, and I think that's awesome. But, you see the Striking Scorpion in the background there standing on just yet another unnamed tactical rock. So, yeah. And yet more rocks. Now, what you do notice also is, besides the tactical rocks that all of them seem to be standing on kind of weirdly at this point, you see that some of their heads are actually unhelmeted. So I'm sure the set comes with the option of unhelmeted heads and helmeted ones. I think the helmeted heads look really awesome. And I think the unhelmeted heads could either fit for a Ynnari type kind of thing, or they could be used for an autarch. So they could be used for conversions. If you wanted an autarch with Manda Blasters, you can kind of, slot this head in there, and I think they look really good for that. So that is pretty cool as well. And we have yet more tactical rock. So pretty much so far, every single Striking Scorpion is standing on some sort of rock, which is, again, it's kind of one of those things where you see it a couple times and it's funny, and then, you see it on every model and you think to yourself, they couldn't think of something else to put these guys on than tactical rocks. I mean, a tactical branch or whatever would have been, a lot more variety at least, right? But it seems like we didn't really get that with this kit. Now, what it seems like to me also is that the Eldar runic rock is the only one, or, hieroglyphic rock, however you want to kind of call that, is the only one per 5. So it looks like there's one of those per 5, one of those leg bits, and that's it. The rest of them are kind of standing on, kind of little stepping stones or whatever. And as you can see with these other models as well, they're just stepping on the rocks, and that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of leg variation. There's not a lot of leg movement. And I think that's really why some people in the Eldar community are really disappointed in this, because, we've been waiting, how long has it been? 17 years for a new plastic Striking Scorpion kit. And when it finally comes out, the dynamic poses that we're used to seeing in updated Eldar miniatures are not there. But really, if you look at them in an isolated way and you don't compare them to the other kits, the Striking Scorpions do still look pretty good, right? Again, like I said before, they look slimmer. They look more aesthetically Eldar with the, slimmer helmets and stuff like that. They don't have the clunky helmets that they did before in 4th edition, from 2006. The sculpts back then. So they do look quite a bit better. They are an improvement, no doubt. But really where you start seeing the, little bit of a disappointment is when you compare them to other recent Eldar kits that have come out within the past couple of years. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just really quick just compare Striking Scorpions to some other newly, kind of refresh Eldar models in the range. So here's a side-by-side of the Exarch, Striking Scorpion Exarch, compared with the Howling Banshee Exarch. Now, as you can tell, the Howling Banshee Exarch is doing a lot more. Now, that could be argued that, the Howling Banshee Exarch is a master acrobat and stuff like that. So, of course, the pose is going to be different. The pose is going to be way more epic. But, is that really any excuse to not have the Striking Scorpion Exarch, say, crouching or doing something cool? Right? I mean, he doesn't have to be flying through the air to be a really cool looking model, but, him just kind of standing there holding out his sword and just, the claws in kind of more of a passive position, it doesn't really look that epic. Whereas the Howling Banshee Exarch looks super epic. She's jumping off of a, hieroglyphic piece of architecture, and she's about to just slice up a whole enemy unit of, Space Marines or whatever. And, considering the Howling Banshee Exarch has such a cool pose and the Striking Scorpion Exarch doesn't, it is a little bit disappointing to say the least. But how do the Striking Scorpions compare to other models? Well, as it happens, even Guardians seem to have more dynamic posing than the Striking Scorpions do, which is kind of insane because if you think about their lore, Guardians are pretty much untrained militia. I mean, they're trained a little bit, but most of them are not as proficient in combat as Striking Scorpions or any aspect warrior for that matter. So when you see a Storm Guardian running through the air, jumping up, throwing a grenade into enemy lines in this like epic battle pose, and by comparison, the Striking Scorpion Exarch is pretty much just standing on a rock with his sword out. So, again, I'm hoping the other options, the other weapon options that the Exarch has are maybe a little bit more dynamic, or maybe perhaps even, you can kind of change the arms in a way to make them look more dynamic. But as GW and their team have modeled them, he looks kind of just static in a way. And even when you compare the regular Striking Scorpions to their Guardian counterparts, and Guardians are a unit that, like their name, Guardian Defenders, are meant to just defend an area of the board. They're meant to just sit on objectives, right? Even they have a little bit more dynamic, kind of movement going on than the Striking Scorpions do. Again, the Striking Scorpions just standing on a rock. The Guardians are actually, kind of jumping through the air, stuff like that. And just the way that the bodies are positioned as well, most of the Striking Scorpions are just kind of to their side, pointing their pistols in one direction and holding their swords down or up. And the Guardians, on the other hand, are, in running poses and stuff like that. So, yeah, when you compare the Striking Scorpions to other Eldar kits, it also does seem like the other Eldar kits are more dynamic as well, which is a little crazy. Again, Striking Scorpions, stealthy masters of ambush, they will literally wait. Literally the description GW gave them was they can wait days, sometimes even weeks, in cover waiting for the perfect ambush. And, they're these perfect ambush warriors. And when they pop out of terrain, what are they going to look like when they're ambushing somebody? Well, they're going to look like they're crouching. They're going to be sneaking around, ready to just jump on their chosen prey, right? Leaping from the shadows. But we don't see that. We see instead pretty static, pretty humble battle poses, right? Something we've seen from a lot of other armies thousands of times over. Aiming their pistols, chainswords at the side, right? And the only difference is they seem to be standing on rocks. And that's pretty much it. So, yeah, there's not a lot of variation in the poses. And I think that's really where a lot of people, again, have this kind of disappointment. So by now you probably already know this, but let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Of course, the elephant in the room is the new kit looks very static for an Aspect Warrior unit. And even compared with things like Guardians, we see that the poses are not very dynamic. A lot of them are just stepping on these tactical rocks. In fact, all of them are stepping on a tactical rock. It's almost like an inside joke at this point, right? That Striking Scorpions are these, masters of stealth and stuff like that. But the only actual terrain you can see on their bases is a single rock that they're stepping on, which is kind of lame, I have to say. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that there was a lot of missed opportunities to create truly dynamic miniatures on GW's part. GW has the potential to make some truly awesome looking models. Look at the Death Jester, right? Look at the pose the Death Jester's in. Look at our Rangers and the way they look. And even look at our Guardians. The humble Guardian unit looks amazing. The new sculpts truly look great. And arguably even, these new Striking Scorpions are even less dynamic than some of their previous iterations, to top it all off. And let me show you what I mean. This is a comparison of the old Striking Scorpion Exarch with the new one. There's not a lot of difference here, right? We have the same pretty much tactical rock that they're stepping on. The Scorpion Exarch, the old one, is, holding his claw out in front of him, kind of in a passive position, and his sword is just there. He's just holding his chainsword. On the right, the new Exarch is just holding his chainsword out. There's not much difference there. And if you take a look at the Aspect Warriors themselves, not the Exarchs, but just the regular Aspect Warriors, it's much of the same thing. In fact, it pretty much looks exactly the same, except again, the helmets are thinner, which is, more true to the Eldar aesthetic. But that's basically it. The posing is exactly the same as the old kit. And the old kit was, again, a lot less dynamic than some of its previous iterations in past editions, and let me show you. So these were the Scorpions that preceded the 2006 sculpts, and as you can see, they're in more dynamic poses, they're crouching, they're using, their hands in different ways, like the Scorpion on the right is actually holding one of his legs to kind of crouch down even farther and sneak. You can see that the Scorpion on the very left side is crouching as well and trying to get, into a better position to maybe attack. So you can kind of see these more dynamic poses here, even though these models are very aged. And here's another few examples. The one on the left is even an older iteration of Striking Scorpions. And even in this case, you see that one of the legs is bent in the same way that one of the legs is bent in Scorpions of the new kit. So you don't really see much difference there. These models were, made in the 90s, right? So they're pretty old models. And the one on the right, of course, is the one that is crouching that we saw earlier. So in conclusion, don't get me wrong. I'm really happy to finally see a new plastic kit for Aspect Warriors after so many years. It's been since 2006. I'm really happy to see that they finally came out with the Scorpions kit. But I just think GW missed a huge opportunity to make the Scorpions look truly dynamic as their agile and lithe background would suggest. And I hope to Isha that when they release Kahandras, which he is probably coming, that at the very least, he will be a truly epic model with a dynamic and awesome pose. And I hope he's like, jumping out of cover or, jumping behind a huge piece of terrain or, sneaking behind somebody, between a wall or something like that. I hope they really do a lot with them. And, you can tell, Jane Czar is a really epic looking model. Morgan Raw is a really epic looking model. And I think Cahandras should and, probably will, hopefully, have the same treatment. And again, with this, only time will tell, but at the very least, don't have Cahandras simply stepping on a tactical rock. All right, everybody, that is going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Thank you to all my patrons and supporters who have supported the channel over the last months. Your help has greatly improved the channel, and we're nearing to 3K subscribers, and hopefully we can hit that before the end of the month. If you do want to join my Patreon and want to support the channel, I have free trials activated, which gives you automatic and permanent access to our Discord community, which is a community of Eldar players and enthusiasts who like talking about strategies, tactics, and of course, hobbying. I will leave the link for that in the description. I'm also an Amazon affiliate and have a channel store page, so if you want to grab some discounted Eldar miniatures on my Amazon affiliate link and help out the channel a little bit, or you want to pick up some Eldar-inspired apparel to rep your local game store, I will also leave the links for that in the description. Lastly, I do have a Kickstarter going on for the Eldar Knights fan decks that I'm creating. So if you want to support that and have, access to that once it's finished, go ahead and check out the Kickstarter link in the description for that as well, and the video I did on it on this channel. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one, everybody. Peace out.